There are two bearings on your tile saw's arbor. The bearings support the arbor and allow it to rotate. The ball bearings will provide years of trouble-free use, but eventually they will fail and will need to be replaced. A bearing will usually give warning when it is going bad, often making a squeaking or a squealing sound. The bearing should be replaced at the first sign of failure to prevent the bearing from seizing. A seized bearing might damage the arbor or the housing, leading to much more costly repairs. Replacing the arbor bearings is a repair that you can do yourself, and I'm going to show you how.
Hi, I'm Mark Socha.
Do-it-yourself repairs like these are easier than you might think. From lawn machines to cordless drills, kitchen mixers,
Outdoor grills.
our how-to videos walk you through each repair from start to finish. So doing it yourself means never having to do it alone.
Let's get started.
I'll begin by removing the blade from the saw. I'll tip the guard back, lock the arbor using the blade lock, and then use a wrench to remove the nut. I'll remove the flange and the blade. Now remove the lock knob and the belt cover. And now I can remove the belt. Now remove the belt pulley. And the key. Now I can use my rubber mallet to tap the blade shaft out of the housing. Now I'll place the shaft in my bearing press and first remove the collar. And it looks like the bearing came off with it. Now I can install the first new bearing. I'll press this bearing onto the threaded end of the shaft. The collar gets pressed onto this knurled portion of the shaft. I'll place it over the shaft and back into the press. I want to be careful here I don't damage the threads on the shaft. Now I need to remove the second bearing. It's still in the housing. To do that, I'll use a socket that has a diameter about the same as the inner race diameter. I've put the socket on an extension. I'll place this through the housing and onto the inner race, and then use my rubber mallet to tap the bearing out. Now I can tap the new bearing into the housing. Now I'll insert the arbor assembly back into the housing and through the bearing. And I'll use my rubber mallet to tap the arbor into that second bearing. Depending on how tight this connection is, it may push the bearing back out of the housing. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. If it pushes the bearing out, we'll have to use a socket to reinstall it. It did push the bearing back out of the housing. So to install it onto the shaft, I'm going to use a socket with a diameter that's about the same as the inner race and a shop hammer. And I'll just tap the bearing onto the shaft. Now I'll reinstall the pulley key and the pulley. I'm going to leave the pulley loose right now and put the belt on. That way we'll be able to align the belt. As I sight down the belt, I can see that this upper pulley is out just a little farther than the bottom one. I have the bottom one flush, so I'm going to go ahead and loosen the upper pulley and tap it in just a small amount. And that looks good right there. So I'll go ahead and tighten it up. I'll place the belt cover over the belt, aligning it with the holes, and I'll secure it with the bolts. And I'll reinstall the lock knob. And I'll finish up by reinstalling the blade. And that's all it takes to install new shaft bearings on your tile saw. Be sure to check back often for new videos and expert advice. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up
And leave a comment.